Hello again, and welcome back to the Star Trek Critic. So my original plan was to have this in book form, and each episode was to get a grade of A, B, C, D, or F, with 20% of the shows from each season in the category of the not to be missed, since they are the shows that Star Trek is all about. Then at the bottom of the spectrum, 20% of each season would be in the category of these shows should have never been made. Either there are some serious flaws in the plot, or they simply don't stand up to the test of time. That evolved into a website idea, where each page was an episode, and then ended up here as YouTube videos where each video loses 1 point for the flaws. The first episode that is on the shouldn't have been made list is the Corbomite Maneuver. This was also the first episode to be produced, but was aired 9th. In this show, a small lonely alien with shortman syndrome in a giant spaceship goes around threatening to destroy other ships in an effort to become friends with them. He bullies them and then says he was testing them. Too many questions to be answered, and the main question being, would something like this actually happen in space? I believe the answer to that is no, so -1 point for a bad plot. In this episode, the Enterprise is on a deep space mission, creating star charts when it encounters the space buoy. These are great, rare overhead shots of the bridge. Spock is still using his inflections in his voice like he did in the first 2 pilots, which is fine. Sometimes on the bridge you will have to do that so they can hear you over some of the other noise. However, there isn't a hole in the top of the ship. This is reused footage of the Enterprise from the cage, so -1 point for not cutting away soon enough. These comments either mean Bailey is sick of his job, or Spock is explaining to the audience what they are doing. This is a good shot of the round thing in the middle of the helm. The object is coming straight at them at light speed. It is acting more like a patrol ship than a space buoy. Baylock refers to it as a space buoy. You will hear more about these comments later. -1 point for having overlapping star dates with the man trap. McCoy has an off switch to the alarm. Kirk isn't too thrilled about that. Have a look at this mark on the side of the monitor. This isn't the last time we will see McCoy talking to himself. No Starfleet officer would ever let their uniform get this wrinkled, so -1 point. Kirk is so distracted, he just walks past the most interesting man in the world. Stay thirsty, my friend. And here is more about Rayleigh raising his voice. There is no such thing as an adrenaline gland, and Spock's response simply means he really doesn't care. Sulu thought I was funny though. And here is the same mark. If they cleaned the monitor, you wouldn't realize they were using the same one for sickbay and Kirk's quarters, so -1 point. Wouldn't it be better if the department heads stayed in their departments? They all have these monitors to make a video conference with. Here is a rare you are there type shot. I wish they did more of these. The cube is a little over a mile away and is the size of a cubic football field. Its weight makes it actually extremely light. Bailey votes to blast at it. Kirk reminds him that he is in charge of a benevolent dictatorship. 18 hours have passed and the star date has moved up by 1.6, which roughly means one whole number is equal to roughly 10 hours, at least in this show. I'm sure the Stardate formula changes about 79 times in the original series. I will have to take a point for Spock playing with the memory tapes. These small squares are supposed to represent the future of memory storage and actually look a lot like the old 3.5-inch floppy disk. You just don't play with those things or leave them laying around, and that's what they do in Star Trek all the time. Thank you, Spock, but we already had that one figured out. And his comment about appearing weak isn't the problem. The real problem is the buoy is holding them there until the space police come and arrest them for trespassing. They should know that. So I will have to take 1 point for sticking around for 18 hours to begin with. They should have already tried to get away. Anything could have come and got them by now. And another point for a poor escape attempt. They should have blasted it the second Spock reported radiation. And it is incredibly close now, too. That's what she said. And another point lost for trying warp speed. Not only are they not traveling at 27 times the speed of light, it would be impossible to create a warp field with a radioactive object now only 50 meters away. That is way too close. Bailey had the right idea the entire time, but they should have blasted it sooner. At 50 meters away, that explosion will do considerable damage to the Enterprise itself. This is a good shot of the phaser blast, and the explosion on the view screen is a great special effect. And the crew throwing themselves around the bridge in front of the shaking camera is also a good effect. But why is the rest of the Enterprise crew in the hallways? They got the call about the ship trying to break free. They should be sitting down somewhere. Or is this like an earthquake drill, where you're supposed to stand in the hallway? Kirk decides to probe ahead because of the mission of the Enterprise. It's not often you see the helm being worked on. Kirk tells the bridge crew they need to conduct some more drills. McCoy gets after Kirk, claiming he was too tough on Bailey, but I disagree. -1 point for drinking while still on duty. It's the captain and the CMO. They are supposed to set an example. In comes Yeoman Rand. I hope that 300 years in the future, the captain of a starship can get his own damn food. So, -1 point for my 23rd century tax money, paying for someone's waiter. And -1 more point for Kirk's sexist comment. Does he really think a male yeoman could do better? Here, Kirk tells you what his real passion is. The Fesarius is still a ways off and has the Enterprise caught in its tractor beam. Why? Baylock is simply messing with them, pretending to be the space police of the First Federation. This is called hazing, so -1 point. This is Vulcan for shit, that's big. And Spock, you lose a point for not using the metric system. It looks especially bad since you're the only one on the ship not from Earth. Even Bailey is using the metric system, and he's busy freaking out. Kirk is a little panicky too. Instead of saying United Federation of Planets, he says United Earth Ship. I think this is the only time you see someone at the helm with an earpiece. It is actually conceivable, though, for a different species to send a message in a different way than we are expecting. Baylock accuses them of trespassing, being inferior and savage, and threatens to destroy the ship and crew. He should also already know why they destroyed the warning buoy. He is totally full of it. Kirk tries to explain what happened, and Baylock shorts out their ship. And again, why? He wants to make friends with them? They are already caught in the tractor beam. So -1 point for Baylock just being an asshole. Baylock then threatens to destroy the Enterprise if they try to move. Kirk opts to release a recorder marker to warn everybody else. I'm sure they do that on a regular basis actually. Bailey is frozen at the helm. Baylock then destroys the marker and then says he's going to destroy the ship in 10 minutes. But still, why? Dr. McCoy shows up in his long sleeve shirt. He was wearing the short sleeve shirt a minute ago. He calls him Balak. And why did Uhura relay the message all over the ship? She made the entire crew freak out now. So -1 point. So now the captain has to address the ship to calm them all down. Kirk offers to turn the ship around and leave. McCoy is back in his short sleeve shirt, so -1 point. Baylock doesn't look that scary, but the bridge crew sure seems stunned. Bailey freaks out. Is it because of Baylock's threat, Sulu's countdown, or because Dr. McCoy changed shirts again right in front of him? -1 point for McCoy's shirt. McCoy tells Bailey his shift is almost over, and Kirk relieves him. And they lose a point for not having someone take Bailey's place. His relief should have come in early. Spock's logic is to give up. The only purpose of this conversation is so they can bring up poker. And this is now known as the Corbomite maneuver. Spock also calls him Balak, so I will have to take a point. They read it differently on the script than what he actually called himself on the intercom. -1 more point for the clock not counting down correctly. After 2 minutes, it should have read 1 minute 59 seconds. Editing will also have to lose 1 point here because they forgot to put in Baylock's 1 minute announcement. But Sulu heard him, so says, I knew he would, but we were all wondering, I knew he would what? Bailey comes back after only 6 minutes of freaking out, but this would have never happened in real life. There should be someone sitting at his post by now, and Dr. McCoy would have given him a tranquilizer, so -1 point. Besides, if the crew thinks they only have 10 minutes left, there's probably a last-minute orgy going on below deck somewhere, and that's where Bailey would have gone. At least that's where I would have gone. Another point taken here. Spock has lived with humans most of his adult life and has been in Starfleet for at least 10 years. He already knows what poker is. So was Balok actually going to destroy the ship? We really don't know what would have happened if Kirk didn't make his bluff. Balok calls Kirk's bluff, Kirk raises, and now Balok tries something new. But why? So why is there a phaser laying around so Rand can zap coffee? And why isn't there a coffee machine on the bridge? That would make it much easier. Either way, -1 point for a phaser laying around. This is a lot like a scene from the episode The Cloud in Voyager. And again, there is really no reason for the small ship to break away and tow the Enterprise. The Fesarius could have done it, even though it is just a big ball with no one in it. So you lose another point because of Balok's test. Kirk waits for Balok's small ship's power to drain to make his move. There is no way anything man-made could reach 8,000 degrees without melting, so -1 point. And another point lost for stars hanging from strings. Another point lost here. The crew is still in the hallway being slammed up against the walls. Are they trapped in there? If this was a safe zone, there would be rails on the sides. They should really go to a more secure area. Spock has been waiting to say this for 7 years. Kirk looks like he's holding in a fart. The Enterprise breaks free. Uhura also calls him Balok and says he is sending a distress call to the Fesarius. But is it a distress call or is he just luring them in? Kirk plots a course for a rescue mission and addresses the crew of his intent, but he loses a point for his comment about them being alien-like. Kirk gives another speech, or just a continuation of the same speech, and invites Dr. McCoy and Bailey to join him on the rescue mission. Bailey is cooled off now, so it's not such a bad idea, but he really should take a security escort too, since it still might be a trap, so -1 point. Spock wanted to go too, but in reality, Kirk and Spock should never be on away missions together. One of them should always be on the ship. Of course, if you want to get even more technical, it should be Spock going and Kirk staying on the ship. Oh look, he said it might be a trap. Even Kirk knows I'm right about taking security as well. Here is a rare shot of them spinning the wheel on the transporter console. Scotty tells them to bend low. Kind of scary thinking about what might happen to them if they don't. And I have to take another point here. Look at the strap off McCoy's medical tricorder. It is wrapped around his finger. But when they materialize in Balok's ship, the strap is no longer wrapped around his finger. They meet Balok in person and are surprised to see that he is a puppet, but don't seem to notice this ship has the same engineering board as on the Enterprise. I noticed, so I have to take a point. The whole message of this first Star Trek episode, the Corbomite maneuver, is that you never know who you're going to meet in space, and at first it might not go so well until you get to know each other. This episode is successful in that aspect. But in reality, Balok is a bit of a jerk, since he flies around in his giant ship threatening to destroy everybody in his test of friendship. Eventually, the rest of the races are going to get tired of his bullying and beat the living shit out of him and his alter ego puppet. Also, his own race, the First Federation, is going to get tired of Balok giving them a bad name. Who would want to do business with them? So this episode clearly could not be something that would happen in the future. They are still a little leery of him, as you can see. Be careful there. Tranya could be the name of the last crewman that joined his ship. A smart thing to do. They don't drink until Balok does. I don't blame them. Balok is a little off on Earth history. If you read the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll was a shy drug addict who turned into a different person whenever he took his drink. And now it looks like his distress call was also a lure to get them over there. Is his ship really damaged? It was all just his big test. Oddly, he considered their ship's records could have been a deception, but he fell for the Corbomite maneuver and didn't destroy their ship. Balok has a lot of cavities. Balok now says he's lonely and suggests a culture exchange in the form of a crewman. He's trying to get one of them to stay behind. This is a little dangerous since they just met, and he likes to play tests on aliens. This could be why he sent the Fesarius away, so they can't go inside it and discover that big ball is really a dungeon full of alien torture devices. Is Kirk using this as a way to boost Bailey's spirits, or is he just trying to unload a problem crew member? Kirk thinks he will get a better officer in return. Balok laughs uncontrollably because he knows Bailey isn't returning. And notice, of course, Balok wants to show them his vessel before the Fesarius returns. He doesn't want them to see that it is a secret alien zoo. This is what it looks like inside the Fesarius. And the show ends with them taking a tour of the ship. They should probably contact Spock, telling him all is well. And the Corbomite maneuver lost a lot of points and gets a final score of 67%. This is Tranya. Next week on Battlestar Galactica. This is Bailey. Want a drink? Anthony Call played the part of Bailey and went on to do parts in several soap operas. This unnamed extra drank a bottle of Dos Equis one day, then became the most interesting man in the world. And Clint Howard has 250 screen credits to his name. He will be back in Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, and Discovery. And he has a unique passion for mission control centers, as you can see him in Apollo 13, all 3 Austin Powers movies, and Night at the Museum too. So what's your take on the Corbomite maneuver? Would something like this happen in the future? Is Balok's approach to first contact appropriate, or is he just being a bully? Leave your comments below, click that like button, the subscribe button, and the share button. Check out my other videos and playlists, and I will see you again real soon.